The last thing that I wanted to share, just my personal experience, kind of talking about that researcher at that presentation and not anyone knowing how to intervene or effectively train some of these deficits. I think that's what your sensory station and the strobes do really well. Because for me personally, and I've only used the sensory station maybe like 3 or 4 times, it's literally been at NATA. Obviously, we played the games for quite a while during that week. But for me, Herb was telling me this, my colleague was telling me this, and I didn't realize it until I got assessed that my periphery in the lower left quadrant, I think, is very poor. So I was missing a lot of things back here. And that's something that I wouldn't even realize unless I did the assessment on the sensory station. Then when I came back, since we have the quads, when I put it in that lower left quadrant, just that quadrant blinking, I'm very poor at doing certain things, hand-eye coordination. And my vision, again, it's not my acuity because my acuity is great, but it's just strengthening that area for whatever reason, the focus, my eyes just don't like to move down in that area. But that's some of the interesting benefits I think that you guys have really brought to this world is without these resources, there's no way that I would have known that, okay, I need to focus on this area of my periphery. And we see that a lot with our athletes, maybe not with the thorough assessment, but when we start to, change which quadrant is blinking, we get to see some of the deficits. And then the gears start to turning because we've had receivers too come in and it's like, yeah, I do have a hard time when I'm catching the ball up here, And it's like, well, that makes sense because it's not saying that vision is 100% of the cause, but it might be a significant contributing factor. So those are some of the things just to touch the tip of the iceberg with how valuable these tools are. So when people think, how much is the quadrant strobe glasses?
Those are $7.99.
Yes.
So those are a lot more. Those are a bit more expensive, but and that's because of all the segmenting and things that go with it, and often it is a clinical tool. So your average person is not necessarily always purchasing those. But
yes, I will advocate for you guys because even for $7.99, if this is like a higher level athlete, right? A lot of times they have no problem investing in something like that if they start to see the benefit. Yes, for the layperson, it might be a little bit steep, but for the athlete that's looking to train more effectively, these tools are actually still priced very reasonably for the amount of value again that you're getting from all of these tools. So that was just really a last bit story that I wanted to share with my experience and what we're kind of seeing. But that's why you have created all of these products is to fill that void again, to help people train at an accessible, reasonable price that really will bring all of this benefit to, just performing better.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's we're always glad. We're always really happy when people tell us it's working. And, there's people like you coming to us and telling us that you've used them and that you're using them and that things are working. You're seeing results. Like that's really what it's about. Because we like to hear from the world, like, is this stuff working? Because if it is, then we try to amplify it and keep it moving. If it's not, then we either figure out what's wrong, why isn't it working, or we have to figure out, well, then there's something new we got to do instead. So that's the key. And everything we do is based on some type of research that's been out there, that's been done, and we try to then take it and move it to the right place and make it accessible and make it work for the ecosystem. And we just keep figuring out and looking at the current research that's coming out and seeing how it plays into how we're operating.